I'm Jamie and welcome back to my channel. This is a bit of a different video to what I normally make, but I watched the Cinderella movie that came out on Amazon Prime a few days ago, only because it had James Acaster in it and like a few other ex-Taskmaster contestants. And I'm sure all of you have also been inundated with just loads and loads of ads and trailers for this movie. So I caved and I decided to watch it, and it was just so much worse than I imagined it was going to be. And I feel like I have to make a video so that it doesn't feel like I've wasted 2 hours of my life, because that is how long the film is. The film was 2 hours long, which is just way too long for a Cinderella film. Like, I turned it on, saw 2 hours, and I was just so close then to just not watching it, and I wish I had. So yeah, this is going to be ranting about the Cinderella movie. I just have a couple of notes, not scripted or anything at all, so apologies if it's a bit rambly. I'm sure everyone who's in kind of like the Taskmaster community will know that it features 4 Taskmaster contestants in it. Well, I only knew about James Acaster and Ramesh Ranganathan being in it, but Rob Beckett and Doc Brown are in it. So James Acaster, Ramesh, and then James Corden, because he has to be in everything, play the 3 mice that then turn into footmen. And then Rob Beckett plays a character called like Thomas Cecil, who is the creepiest character in the entire film. Yeah, we'll get onto that in a bit. And then Doc Brown plays the town crier, so he like does the announcements for the village, for the town, which he raps it because it's a musical. Yeah, so let's talk about it a bit. I just don't understand the casting for this film at all. So we've got Camila Cabello as the lead, she's Cinderella, and she, you know, she's a singer, but for some reason all of her songs are auto-tuned. I don't know why, and the songs aren't even like original musical songs. They are kind of like remixes and adaptations of pop songs. So like, oh, it was just so cringy. So like when the Prince and Cinderella are dancing at the ball, they sing and dance to Ed Sheeran song. The one that is just constantly on the radio all the time. It's so weird, it's so cringy. I don't understand the concept behind it. I know like musicals do that when they kind of take pop songs and turn them into music. It's like a jukebox musical, I think that's what the term is. So like there's like West End shows like Anne Juliet, they do that kind of thing, and like even like Six the musical, they've taken inspiration from pop stars and like stuff like that and remixed it and made it their own, but it just doesn't do it on the same level with this film at all. Kind of like the songs don't relate to what's actually happening a lot of the time. I just don't like it. I like musicals, but yeah, just not for me. The kind of songs, none of the songs really stick in my head apart from the Ed Sheeran song, which because it was just so stupid that was the song that they were singing in the ball. And I feel like they've tried to do like what Bridgerton did, where Bridgerton, they did kind of adaptations of pop songs, like we had Taylor Swift songs, but as kind of like orchestra music, which worked because it was more subtle than this. I don't understand. So yeah, they would just auto-tune Camila Cabello, which I don't know how good of a singer she is, but like that is her profession. She is a singer. And then you've got like Pierce Brosnan and like Idina Menzel, and Billy Porter. Like, there are some good names in this. And then you've got, I don't mean to be rude, but then you've got Taskmaster contestants, and none of them are really anything to do with acting or singing. Doc Brown being the exception to that, because he has done quite a bit of acting before, and obviously he's a rapper, so he fits in it quite well as you can fit into this film. James Acaster and Ramesh Ranganathan. I think Ramesh has only been in, he was in King Gary. He was in quite a lot of episodes of that. But yeah, James Acaster isn't really an actor, so I don't understand why they've cast them. But saying this, they were the best part of the film. Like, I might be biased by saying that, but I think the 3 mice, like even James Corden included, they were definitely the most interesting part of it. I think the 3 of them went quite well together. Obviously James Corden was loud all the time, which that is his thing. But yeah, James and Ramesh, they kind of mesh quite well, because there's one scene where they, when they're transformed into the footmen, and it's like the mice like figuring out kind of like what humans can do and being amazed that they can like clap and that they have a front tail, which has some like funny parts in it. Well, amusing, I would say. I wouldn't say funny. There were some really odd bits with the mice though. Like there's one part where they turned back into the mice, like at midnight and whatever. And for some reason, James Corden's body goes back to a mouse. So it's just a tiny mouse body with a massive head of James Corden, which was just cursed. It was just the worst image to look at. And it was just him screaming and Cabello screaming. And the thing that confuses me about casting like comedians in this film is that it's not a comedy film. Like, I can understand if they were doing like a funny version of Cinderella where they kind of make fun of a lot of the tropes in the original Cinderella, like the fact that the prince doesn't know what she looks like after dancing with her and falling in love with her at the ball. But it's not funny at all. They've kind of gone for a more like serious-ish story, but like just making odd remarks all the time. Like it's not, they don't make jokes. Well, maybe they're trying to make jokes, but they just seem to be making like funny remarks in just random moments, and it's just not good. Like there's one part where like Pierce Brosnan's like serenading the Queen after they get in an argument, and it's just purposely bad, but it's not funny bad. It's just, I just want to turn this off now bad. Yeah, it's just, I don't understand the point of casting people that aren't professional actors and singers. Like that isn't their main thing. Like these are comedians. Like they definitely were the funniest part of it for me, but I just can't work out whether or not it was trying to be funny. So the story is not your typical Cinderella story. So Cinderella is like a dressmaker with like the stepmom and everything, and she doesn't want to marry a prince. She wants to own a business, but she can't because she's a woman. And then the prince is just annoying and decides to go. She's sitting on a statue of the king's dad, and so the old king, and they start just having like a weird back and forth, like shouting even though they're sitting like really far apart, so they obviously wouldn't be able to hear them, but they're shouting back. And then the prince decides, that's the woman I want to marry because she's standing up to the king even though she's just making stupid remarks about sitting on a statue. It's a very convoluted story. It's 2 hours long and there's so many plot points that don't need to happen that do happen. So he makes a point to invite every woman to the ball, so not just like royalty, because he wants to meet Cinderella. So he goes out, he meets her, and makes sure that she comes to the ball, because she's like, there'll be people there that will see your dresses and will want to buy your dresses. Yeah, and then they get to the ball, and the fairy godmother or fairy godfather, which is Billy Porter, puts a spell on everybody so that no one will recognise her apart from the man that she met who bought her dress, which of course is the prince. So they get there and she didn't recognise the prince when they first met, even though he is the prince and everybody would know his face. She just did not recognise him at all, and he didn't even have a disguise on. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, how do you not recognise him? Because even at the end they didn't have him not recognise her. It was just he couldn't find her because she was running to because Rob Beckett had bought her, basically. His character was so creepy, and like creepy to a point that I just don't understand why. Again, I don't know if it was supposed to be funny, but it was just so creepy. Like he's only in a couple of scenes, but he comes up to like the stepmother's house, and she's obviously trying to find her children a husband, and he comes in and he's like, oh no, I won't come in, like I've got like everything I wanted to look at. I was like, I'll save that memory for later, kind of weird gross stuff. And then towards the end, he asks Cinderella's stepmother if he can marry her, and she basically just sells her off, basically coerced into going with him. It's just weird. Like I understand what they're going for, but like, let's not do that in a kids movie. Yeah, and also this is a kids movie, and like, there's so many more adult jokes being like, oh well, he's obviously got not much in his head and obviously not much anywhere else. And yeah, there's just so many adult jokes, and then you've got comedians who children probably won't know. So I feel like they've just chucked in a bunch of comedians that will get adults to watch the film. Yeah, and it just didn't work at all. Because there's lots of comedians who have done like Cinderella pantomime, which I feel like if they'd done something like that, it would have worked a lot better. But they're trying to also be like a serious feminist thing. So obviously, yeah, it's like she wants to make her business, but then you've got comedians making silly jokes in it, and it's just not a very good film. Yeah, and then you've got like Broadway actors, so like Idina Menzel and Billy Porter. together. They were made on Broadway and they're incredibly good singers and actors, and yet it's just their talent is wasted on this, and like pretty much every character in this film is insufferable. Like genuinely every character. I hated every member of the royal family. They basically spend the entire movie complaining that their lives are boring or that things aren't fair for them, and it's like, you're in a castle and you've got like all the money you could want and you can do whatever you'd like, pretty much. Just stop it. Like, I get, you know, I wouldn't want to be born into a royal family where I've got to just stand there and do, you know, work your entire life. It's boring, but like at least you've got like security and like so the whole point is like, oh, all the women are being held back because of the patriarchy, which like I get that. Then at the end it's just like, oh, we've solved it, sexism is over, women can have their business, and now we're gonna have a queen instead because she will be a better ruler than the prince who's run after her with Cinderella. Like, it's just like, you haven't solved anything just because some people have got married and, they didn't get married, but they got together and now you've elected a queen. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. They've tried too hard to be like feminist, and it just come off like, you know, like girl boss energy really for pretty much every character. And the villain, who is a stepmother, is like, the reason she's a villain is like, oh, you need to get married because I had to get married and give up my dreams of being like a musician because I'm a woman. And it's like, why are we always trying to make villains sympathetic? Like, there wasn't even a villain. Like, the villain in this story is the patriarchy, which is solved by the end of it. And yeah, they make a whole point of being like, oh, we'll invite every woman to the ball because, you know, equality. But there's just no effort made after that to like be equal, you know. The princess makes remarks about, oh, we should take funding away from our catapults and send it, you know, to the people. And it's just, I don't know, this is just very ranty. It's a very bad film that doesn't make any sense. And it's just really cringy. Like, I don't want to be mean to Camila Cabello, but she's not a good actress in this. I'm not sure whether it's due to the script, because the script is bad, the story is bad. And again, I might be biased, but the only good parts were the mice. And I would say Doc Brown's songs or raps are probably the best because they actually fit in to the story. It's a good idea to have, you know, the town crier doing a rap to give the messages to the town, and that works, whereas no other song fits in at all. There are, if you do want to watch like the bits with like James Acaster in, then I saw somebody upload a video that was Cinderella movie but only the parts that James Acaster's in. So if you just want your James Acaster fix, then watch that instead of watching the film, because you don't want to waste 2 hours of your life. Trust me, it's not worth it. And it also seems there's a bit like stereotypical parts in it, which isn't good. It just comes across just like awkward. And I just don't know why anybody agreed to do this film. And like, we don't need another Cinderella remake. We've had so many, and like all of them have been better than this one. It's just did not enjoy it one bit. Yeah, the only parts like I like giggled at were the parts with the mice. So in conclusion, it's a very bad film that's way too long, no real plotline or like too many things going on at once, every character being insufferable, and a weird mix of trying to be funny but then also trying to make a feminist point that just doesn't work at the end because everything's solved. Just don't watch it. That's the review. Like, advertising this film so much. But it worked, well done. You got me to watch it. Sorry this video is quite bad, but I'm just annoyed and it's really, really hot. I am thinking of doing more like film reviews, obviously like better films than this. Because like I've recently started working at a cinema, so I'm watching a lot more films than I normally do. So thank you for watching this video if you did get this far. If you want videos that are better than this to do with Taskmaster, Ghosts, British TV, then subscribe and I'll have some out for you soon, and comment down below if you watched the Cinderella movie. I hope that you didn't because it's bad, but yeah, let me know what you think if you have watched it, and yeah, I will see you in the next video. Bye!